Hi, this is Raven Blair Davis, and I've teamed up with Michael Sinoff's HardToFindSeminars.com.
Brian Tracy, I'm so thrilled to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. It's a delight. And what everybody should realize is it takes just as much time to have a mediocre business, to fail, and to worry about money all your life as it does to be successful. And just a matter of how you use your time. The three words that every business owner has to think about every day are competition, competition, competition. The first job of the business owner is to get a customer. The second job is to get a customer. The third job is to get a customer. And business owners have to be really, really focused on that primary result. Our studies show that business owners will say that sales and marketing is the most important part of their business, and then on average they spend about 11% of their time on sales and marketing, and all the rest is playing with their computer and phoning people and talking to their friends and having coffee, and they don't even realize it's called invisible time wastage. The reason people do not succeed in their business is because they're not spending 80% of their time getting customers. About 11% of the time, they're actually getting customers. Now, what I say to business owners is that your job is to ask people for money. When you get up in the morning, the first thing you do is say, who am I going to ask for money today? And you get there as fast as you possibly can and start asking for money at 8 o'clock. If you're not asking for money, you're not working. You're officially unemployed. You're a member of the statistics, and you have no future in your business. And it's very easy to slip into it. So what we say, it's chapter 1, become a great leader. And a leader is a person who clearly defines what the individual and other people have to do right now, today, to drive business, to make sales and generate revenues, and then focus on that result all day long. And in every single business, there's a key result that the leader is responsible for, and the leader's job is to pick that and do only that until it's done well. Remember, you have to love your product or service, or you'll never be able to sell it effectively. You have to use it yourself. Everybody in your company has to use it. You have to be willing to sell it to your mother and father and brother and best friend. So that's the starting point. But second of all is you have to compare yourself. Everything is comparison against competitors. What do you have to do to make your product better? I'll give you a very simple example. A poor boy, orphan, going to college, found that when he delivered pizzas, or he was trying to make money delivering pizzas, that people complained because it took so long. It took an hour after they placed the order for the pizza to be delivered, and he came up with an insight. The insight was that when people order a pizza, they're already hungry. Therefore, they value speed over quality. And he went on to start Domino's Pizza, built 8,000 units, and became one of the richest men in the world with one insight, which is that when people order something, speed is more important than anything else in some cases. Zappos.com has done the same thing. When people ordered shoes, they want them as soon as possible. They're looking forward to wearing them, so they deliver them overnight. And went from $0 to $1 billion in 9 years.
Now, let's go ahead and talk about your book, Now Build a Great Business, because you place high priority, Brian, on developing a great business plan. How can the process of planning help make a business stronger, even if business doesn't always go according to the plan? Because, as you know, it doesn't always go according to plan.
We were to ask what is the most important work that a business owner does. The answer is thinking. And thinking clearly about your business is the determining factor between success and failure. Every mistake you'll ever make, you'll say, if only thought about that or gotten a little bit more information, I wouldn't have made that mistake. Planning on paper. I say think on paper. When you think it, ink it, write it down. There's a connection between the head and the hand that is absolutely miraculous. So write it down. And planning, we provide an outline or structure for this when you purchase the book. There's several $1,000s worth of forms, videos, advice, guidance, surveys that you can use that are on a special website that you have access to when you buy the book. So it's a fabulous deal. But you have to think through, who is my customer? Why does my customer buy? What does my customer consider value? When do they buy? Where do they buy? Who else do they buy from? What is my competitive advantage? And so on. So that's the starting point before you start the business. I worked with a very successful businessman who started from nothing, who's now very wealthy, and he spent 6 months evaluating a new business that he was determined to go into. At the end of 6 months, after he had done his planning, he concluded that this was not a good business to go into, and he didn't go into it, and he saved himself an enormous amount of money because he did the planning. The second thing is, where are my customers going to come from? How am I going to reach them? What appeals will I use? Why will people buy my product rather than somebody else's? And how am I going to get to my customers and get them to buy? How am I going to produce my product or service and get it to them in a time-effective way? What are my costs going to be at every stage of the deal? How much am I going to make at the end of the day? These are all things. What technology will I need? What people will I need? What finances will I need? What packaging? What resources? What offices? You need to think these things through and write them down. Because if you don't think them through, they will come up and bite you in the bum. And later you'll say, geez, I hadn't even thought about that. I knew a company that went broke because they did not calculate into their business delivery charges. From manufacturer to their place and from their place to the customer, very competitive business, they went broke because the delivery charges bankrupted them. And they hadn't even thought about that because they didn't write down the plan. You've got to think it through. Now, here's the wonderful thing. Every minute you spend, every dollar you spend in planning will save you 10 minutes and $10 when you implement the plan. All big businesses get big because they plan. All little businesses go broke because they don't plan. So that's chapter number 2, develop a good business plan. It's like planning a vacation or a party or a trip. I mean, sit down and plan it out. You just don't do it by random. You wouldn't even have a barbecue at your home on Saturday without thinking through who's going to be there, how much food will you need, how many plates, how many chairs. I mean, you'll plan a party, but people will not plan their business. First of all, unless you're going to be poor and just barely making a little living all your life, you cannot grow unless you can attract good people. Here's the rule. Good people are free. Poor people are very expensive. Good people are free in that they are free plus a profit. The only time you hire a person is when they contribute more in profit, bottom line, than they cost. If they don't, you don't hire them. And so if you have a good person, they'll not only pay for themselves, but they'll contribute a profit. They will actually earn more than they cost. So that's why big companies can hire thousands of people, because they do it properly, and every additional person adds profit to the company. Now, when the tide goes out and the economy goes down, they have to lay off people until they reach the point where every person is still contributing more than they cost. That's the basic understanding of a job. So the second thing is then you take a piece of paper and you think, for this job, who would be the perfect person? If there was a perfect person factory and you could send an order to the factory and they would send you back the perfect person to walk in the door, how would you describe that perfect person on paper in filling out your order? Then you review that every time you talk to a person to make sure that this person has the most important qualities on your list. Proven experience. Small companies never hire a person and expect to train them. They hire people who are already trained and ready to start day one. That's very important. So when a person comes in, the first thing you ask is, where and when have you done this job successfully in the past? That's about 80% of the hiring. Then, what is your education, your background, your experience, and so on? But the most important thing is, can they do the job? Do they have proven experience, verifiable, that they have done this job well in the past? If they haven't, don't hire them. You're just going into quicksand. And once you've hired the wrong person, getting rid of them can lead to lawsuits and frustration, stress, and all kinds of things. The website is actually called nowbuildagreatbusiness.com. If you go there and order it now, it's $24.95. You order the book, you have access to several $1,000s worth of resources that can help your business immediately from some of the best business experts in America that we have partnered with, and they're all free.
I know you noted in your book, Now Build a Great Business, that a great product or service is the key to business success. What can every entrepreneur learn about quality from a Kia, Toyota?
The great lessons from those companies is they usually start with a product that's not very good, and then they dedicate themselves to continually making the product better and better and better until finally people say, this is a great product. So the critical measure, the jelly in the jelly donut of your business success, is the number of times, the percentage of customers who, after using your product or service, say, this is a great product, and tell other people. In fact, there's one of the most important parts of customer service and your product is to ask the question of your customer, would you recommend us to others? This is called the ultimate question. Based on your experience with me, with us, would you buy again and recommend us to others? And the percentage of people who say yes will largely determine your future. There was an article in Inc. magazine last month about several people who had built large businesses, and the one thing they had in common is when they started, the product was not very good, service was not very good, and they had to continually improve it, including Akio Morita, who founded Sony. His first product was a rice cooker, and the rice cooker turned the rice into a clump in the bottom of the pot, and he had to go back and rework it until he could actually produce rice. So if your product is not terrific right now, that's okay. Just go to work on it. Make it terrific. Ask your customers, what could we do to make this product or service better? And your customers will quite candidly tell you, do more of this, do less of that. And you say, okay, and if you do it, your customers will become loyal and they'll buy and buy again and tell their friends. Now, the other thing that your listeners have to understand is what is called the power of no. The fact is, when we go into business, we go into business seeking yeses. We want as many yeses as possible. Yes, I will. Yes, I'll do the job, especially yes, I'll buy. But we do everything possible to avoid no's, and we consider that the more yeses we get, the more successful we are, the more no's we get, the more we fail. Now, what you have to do is you have to rewire that, like pulling out plugs in an old switchboard and reverse the plugs and say, my job is to get no's. The more no's I can get, by the law of probability, the more yeses I will get. So your job is to fail as often as possible, to get as many people saying no as possible. Start in the morning and go for no. All day long, keep asking people to buy your product or service, and the more people who say no, the more successful you'll be. Take every single sale that you do get and divide it by the number of people you have to talk to get that sale. And that's the amount you get. If you make $100 a sale and you have to get 9 no's to get 1 yes, then you get $10 for every no, or you collect it on the last one. And with that attitude, then what you do is you speed up your tempo. In starting a small business, remember this, the key to success is to fail more often. As a matter of fact, every time you get a no, you should say thank you, because it puts you just that bit closer to somebody who will buy. You have to ask, what is it that customers want? And customers want their problem solved, their goals achieved, or their needs satisfied quickly. And the good news is that with small companies, they can do it quickly. That's the one advantage a small company has, is no bureaucracy, so they can instantly serve their customers quickly. Whereas large companies, the deal has to go in, it has to be processed, it has to be approved, it has to be delivered, and it could take a long time. So here's a great example. I told you before about Tom Monahan and Domino's Pizza. When Tony Hsieh came up with this idea of selling shoes on the Internet and formed Zappos.com, they used an outside company, and they would take the orders and ship the orders to the outside fulfillment company, as we used to do, and the fulfillment company would send out the order 7 to 10 days later. And people would start calling in and complaining. All the phones were clogged up with people who had ordered but still hadn't received their darn shoes. Because when you order shoes, actually, if you go to a store, you can walk out in the shoes. If you order them online, you want the same experience. You want to be walking in those shoes as quickly as possible. So what they did is they sold a major part of the company to raise capital to create their own distribution center, and the goal was that if you ordered shoes today, you got them tomorrow. And today, the joke with Zappos is that if you turn to your computer and order a pair of shoes from Zappo, you have to run to the door, because there'll be somebody there with the shoes. And not only that, they'll pay the shipping both ways. If you don't like the shoes, you just slap the label on the box, they'll take them back at no charge. And Zappos went to $1.2 billion this year in sales as a result of delivering shoes quickly overnight. So what they do is they've kept the small business mentality. People want what they ordered fast. Amazon. You order a book from Amazon, it's there in 2 or 3 days. It's just phenomenal. So people, more and more, they buy billions and now tens of billions of dollars of product from them, because it's much easier than getting in your car and driving across town and finding a parking space and going to the bookstore and they don't have it in stock and you have to place an order and you have to pay full retail, and just turn to your computer and be there.
Hi, it's Michael Sinoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the Internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at HardToFindSeminars.com. So go right now to HardToFindSeminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching.